Oh, we're live?
We are chilling until I get. Right now it says no data. There we go. Now we're at excellent. I think we are live. Hello, hello.
Sweet.
Welcome to
Hello,
the
hello.
stream.
Hi.
Thanks for
I
swinging
feel a
by.
little loopy. Just to let you know, Kat, I feel a little loopy today.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Turn this. Yeah, I don't know what to describe. Like, sometimes I'm like, I think it's because I've been in a groggy state. You know, when you kind of been in like a coma, whether it's like coding for like hours and then you try to have a conversation, realize you have no warm up of like being in the shit of it. So you're like, oh, fuck me. I'm a mess right now. But, anyways, hopefully it'll make for a funny conversation. Boom.
I'm
Send. There we
excited.
go.
I was
Oh,
curious if you had something you wanted to start with. You said you got a lot of thoughts bubbling in your head. Right now I'm
ooh,
just
well,
staring
maybe
at a
we should
loading
start.
screen, so.
What first of all, how was your week? What'd you be getting up to these? I haven't talked to you in like 2 weeks. Well, yeah,
Oh
that's true.
man,
We
it's
talked
been a
every
while.
fucking a time straight, but still. Not as quick back and forth.
It's a different kind of talk, I would say. That's our
Yeah.
Thursdays are more of us unloading our week onto you, and you're just like,
Yeah,
wow,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
cool. That's a lot.
I think it's awesome, dude. I have such a boring like this is the thing that like streamers is like you have to go out and you do stuff and you go to parties and shit. And I'm just like, dude, I wake up, I do my thing, I go back to bed. Okay, that's all it is. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of eventful stuff happening. I can be like, do you want to know about this mask? That's kind of the maximum extreme. Anyways, but you guys be going out and doing shit.
For real.
So, how was it? How
Not too
was the last
bad.
2 weeks? Nothing too crazy happened? Well,
I
first of all, let me ask you some poignant questions because I feel like I
mm,
just it's when there was someone say, "Hey, tell me everything." It's hard to reply. How give me an update on your like your fucked up body. You said you like hurt yourself last time really badly and you were in a whole shit of it.
I'm not doing too bad now. It's been a long time since I've really felt anything about that. If I sleep poorly, I might like
Mhm.
wake up with one of my legs just having a shooting kind of nerve pain. But
Eee.
I've been back in the gym, which has been nice.
I was gonna
So
say,
it
are you
hasn't been
back and
crippling.
working out?
Oh yeah.
What exercise you be getting after?
God, I've been doing a lot more on the rowing machine just because having my back like
Oh,
accessible again, it feels nice to move. So I'm trying to
hell
get
yeah,
that
dude.
back
Rowing
to
is
shape.
great. Rowing's fantastic. Have you ever tried the attack bike?
No, I have not. I shift between rowing and swimming, depending on how I feel.
Yo, swimming is I think the undisputed king. It's just you need a fucking
Oh
huge
yeah.
amount of water to be able to then do it. But
Oh,
I
for
do think
real.
swimming is the peak. Yeah. Have you
I
ever
remember
tried any
we've
of
had a
that stuff? That's
great
kind of
stream combo.
yeah. I was gonna say, have you ever tried the weird stuff where like I remember like George St. Pierre a long time ago was doing it where like there's these
Hi,
weird
Raid.
type of dumbbell exercises. Hey, right. Dumbbell exercises you can do within water because like basically it's like gravity training in a weird way. But I always thought it was really fascinating the idea of like water lifting in a weird way.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. Raid says you've been
Oh,
sleeping
really?
like shit too. Man, you need magnesium glycinate. I keep
That's what I
throwing that
hear.
out there. You got it.
Yeah. Let's see. I have one of these magnesium sons of bitches. I don't know what they're called. I get that's what I heard though. It's like there's like magnesium and then there's this specific type of magnesium, which that's the one that you want. Yeah, it's
Lysinate is why I like it because it's meant to be digested better during sleep with no food. There's other like food born that
mine
have
says
that.
magnesium glycinate. I think is what you described. So I got that.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's got
Also,
L-theanine.
I think I'm grayed out here. Oh, because my
Right
HDR
now.
is on right now. Hmm. I should have figured out how to turn that off before stream.
I can't wait. I haven't been playing the thing. Let me do this.
Oh,
So
you're
what's grayed
good.
out?
I think my screen is just slightly gray.
Oh,
I have no idea.
let me see.
Anyone let me know.
I can't tell anything. I don't see
Okay.
anything. I'm on live. Yeah.
Cool. Well then,
I mean, yeah.
says recently got a
What
new
did Raid say?
medication for it. Oh yeah, that's good. Try it tonight.
Oh, Raid. Raid. So wait, what kind of? So there's a bunch of different types of sleep problems. There's like sleeping when you're like basically you can't get to bed, like you can't turn off your brain, and then there's like quality of sleep. So you like whenever you do sleep, you're suck. Like you wake up still tired. Is it both, or what? Which one is yours? I feel like for most people, it's just getting to sleep.
Also, while he's
Like that.
responding, uh, to answer the rest of your question, that's basically it. 'Cause I'm kind of back to normal physically, which I appreciate. Tough
Yeah, man.
love.
And did you get the sleep thing like fully taken care of?
Awesome. He says the HDR is only on my end. That makes me happy.
Sweet. Also, what's good, Fuff?
Raid says it's a blood
Uh,
pressure medication, but it supposedly puts you to sleep. Okay, well, nice bonus.
damn, I feel like that fucking sketched me out. Fucking blood pressure, thinning out your blood. Maybe, I guess, yeah.
I've always
I'm
been the type
curious.
of person where I prefer to fall asleep with something versus just laying there rolling around for an hour or two, feeling like I'm wasting my time.
No, yeah, but man, see, it's so funny you mention this because this is exactly where like I was the same thing where I'm like, I just hate that I fucking am sitting there and I'm like sitting there for 2 hours, like 2 hours, 3 hours of sitting there. I'm like, I've been literally just like looking at the ceiling for 3 hours and can't go to bed. But it's funny because like that is a toxic loop that will make it so that you can't go to bed. So
Yeah.
the best thing you could possibly do is just say, "Who cares? Who fucking cares at all?" And you just it's funny because like as soon as you just decouple from any expectation or any like whatever sleep's supposed to be, you can finally just let go and go to sleep. Now I know it's not if that's a little bit woo woo for everyone, but at least it helped me a lot because I was bad as far as like getting to sleep on time because I had all that anxiety around it.
Oh yeah. Raid
Uh,
says he wakes up in the middle of the night, sometimes even twice. Ah, that's the worst.
Oh, I thought there was a reason, like a kind of a pretty well documented reason for that. I can't think what it was though. Shit. But yeah, there's like tons of these weird things where people have like, you know what I think it might be, Raid? So like this is something that I don't think people like. I'm not sure anyone noticed, but like there was this big movement a long time ago, like a little while ago, where people were putting like tape on their mouths, and they had like these nose strips on and all these things, and basically it all came back down to the same idea of like you're not breathing properly, or some people maybe like accrued fat around their like esophagus and neck and stuff like that, so
Huh.
and or like their tongue ends up rolling back into their throat. So all these things are indicative of like you basically not having sufficient air in the middle of your sleep cycle. So and that kind of makes sense if you think about like waking up in the middle of the night. Like I used to actually wake up a little bit, and they'd always be like, like you basically like you're basically drowning, you're not breathing, and then your body like has to like basically kick you awake to make sure you breathe. But anyways, a lot of people do this weird shit where they put like tape on their mouth, and I personally think if anyone has like bad breathing or airflow, you should get what's kind of like it's called a restriction airflow breather thing. Basically, just like a funnel with a mouth guard on it, and you basically just breathe in through like a
Rimworld.
tinier entry hole, essentially. But yeah, what were we saying, cats, right?
No, no, that's I was just saying, come on, Rimworld. I started this
It's not loading.
before the stream started, and this thing still takes a while.
I say, how
340
many
mods
mods
will
you
do that.
got? Yeah, 1,000 mods. You're gonna
Oh yeah.
wait to play.
It's
Uh,
worth it sometimes, as long as you can keep it launched.
yeah.
I wanted to ask you, what's up with the masks? You said you had a big problem with them, or at least something on your mind about them?
Um, so, dude, here's the thing. I don't know what to do with this because I'm painting these masks this week, and I started painting them, and I was like, okay, I kind of have this idea in my head where like I want the nose part of the mask, which to basically read as like a metal strap, like just a different like material. And I thought, okay, I could do that. So then I did that. I made like a really dark kind of gunmetal type of thing. So cool, I did that, and then I painted the whole mask that like same gun thing, just have a bit of reflective light on it. But then I wanted the like the cheeks and all the rest basically to be red as like kind of like an ice or like a stone essentially.
Yeah.
But as I started doing it, I started kind of like playing around a little bit, and I ended up coming out with something that was like a lot more akin to like I don't know how you describe it besides black ice. Like maybe I'll
Like
upload a
from
picture of it
Siege?
in the Discord. I don't. It's hard to describe. I think it looks cool and it's a lot more subtle. But the reason why I bring it up as a kind of a pain in the ass is because it's like basically like think of the whole mask, like the cheeks, the chin, everything is like now it has like dark blue with like slight highlights of blue at the certain edges, very similar to like black ice, honestly.
Yeah.
But now we have a nose that's like a dark gunmetal. So it's like dark gunmetal nose plus dark cheekbone blue around the cheeks. So it kind of is too much dark. So I think I need to brighten up the nose, which is kind of a pain in my ass. But I'm also wondering if I should do, because I have two masks. They're fully painted the same way. So I'm like, do I A, take one of the masks and paint it more in line with what I initially thought, which is more of like a ice stone thing? Or do I just say, fuck it, this is now what we're doing. We have like this black ice texture, which I think is cool. And now we're going to change the nose. One would be significantly easier than the other one to have to like repaint all of it again. But I don't know. I may show you guys on Thursday and be like, help! But I probably make a choice before then. Yeah. It's hard to describe. Maybe I'll upload a picture eventually. I just don't know if we'll have time for me to like grab my phone to take a picture.
I can always put this on
But yeah,
one-time speed and just show the picture.
you what?
I can always put this on slow speed and just show the picture, I think.
No, I know. I mean, like for me to be able to, yeah, fuck it, I'll do it. I think it's not as hard as I'm making it sound. I'll just take a picture
Can I?
and show
With a
you
full screen
guys.
application?
What's that? No, I'll just upload it on the Discord. Just so
Oh,
people know
gotcha.
I fucking downloaded. Yeah, that's my head's at.
Darn game's finally loaded.
It's art tab. So how is what do you call it? How's Helldivers? Is it everything you'd hoped it would be, or is it kind of like not enough Warhammer?
Currently it's not too bad. I like the gear. It's been pretty good in terms of strength. I don't know if you know much about the actual stuff, but what is called a bolt series of weapons, like a bolt gun, a bolt pistol. Basically just shoots
like
explosive jet-propelled bullets.
Damn, yeah, the bolter. Is it that what that is?
Yeah, and they gave us a pistol version of that, and it hits pretty well, and the sound is good. So I think they designed it pretty well. That makes me happy.
Okay, I uploaded it to the art tab if you want to see what I'm rocking. But so it ended up turning into like kind of a black ice type vibe.
Check this out.
And I'm like, do I say fuck it and I make the the black ice not black ice and I make it kind of like a much brighter, so you'd have like basically a kind of a neutral 3 or 4 as far as like the way brighter basically instead of like it being so dark. But anyways, yes, I'm curious if anyone's seen it in the art tab or Discord. I probably just have to make a choice and just bite through it. The issue I don't like. What?
In the art tab I opened, it was just some lone ass. Like
Lots
some
of ass,
amazing
always
art.
ass.
I shouldn't say quality,
Yes.
like ass quality.
Exactly.
But some.
The most fine art you've ever seen.
Yes. Where did you put it?
It should be in the art tab. Did I not? It should. Did I fuck up and it didn't go?
Not Beyond the Tower, that's for sure. There's some big old lone ass.
Art tab.
Oh, did you put an artificial? No.
Oh wait, no, it didn't go through. What the fuck? I put
Yeah,
it in
you
the
just
tab.
made me.
I put it in the
Oh,
wrong
you were
tab?
fucking with me. You made me do that on purpose. I see.
No, I didn't. I what? I'm not. I'm trying to post it.
I don't see it
There.
in art.
I know. I now I realized it didn't go through. Boom.
Wacky.
There. Sorry. No, it's not letting me. It just keeps ejecting it.
So I just
You've
gotta
given
stare at this
Discord
big
access-
ass.
Yeah, maybe. What the fuck? Maybe we try a different tab.
I mean,
Let's
sure.
go to share Grin tab.
Don't you have one for your own? Like your own where Grin shows things tab or something?
I don't. Do I? Probably.
I thought you
do. I'm so
did.
sorry.
I really thought you did.
Maybe I
At
have.
some point.
Yeah, it won't take. I don't know why. I'm
Maybe
hitting,
that's
like,
just your
I'm uploading it.
vacation. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
my
of-
vacation one was old. Yeah.
Yeah, the vacation
I don't
tab.
know why. Do I have to put like hide so that it's not just the image? Failed to send. Hold for options.
Wow.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, you're lacking
Retry.
something.
Maybe it wasn't meant to be, guys. Maybe we can't have nice things. Maybe I could private message Cat. Like I could pull it up on stream.
We'll say this is certainly building some hype.
Nope, it's fighting me. It'll not have it. It'll not have it. I tried. Yeah. All right, guys. Everything sucks. It is what it is. I apologize. I can't get through. I don't know why. If it's like the server's like kicking or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's wacky.
Yeah. Anyways, all right. Thank you for letting me ramble about that. For all to me nothing, Cat. Appreciate that. Anyways.
It just means I'm more hyped for when it actually does work.
Yes, I mean, I hope it's good. I hope it's good. I think it'll be nice. I need to get on like painting Shane Norix though. That's also a big thing.
Oh, they're complete to that point?
What?
They're complete to that point?
No, sorry. I need to. They're basically there. I just need to basically prime them in like resin so that they there's less layer lines essentially, and then it's still pretty harsh. But basically, as soon as I've done these masks, then I should be able to move on to that one, and that should be good. But like I was telling you beforehand, this is kind of like too much inside baseball probably. But the idea that I'm struggling with right now is the thing that the thing I don't need really right now is actually more videos. Not that I don't want to do that, and I eventually will crank that up a lot. But I almost need to just make other social media sites like Instagram and all that stuff, and then just start posting stuff consistently there. 'Cause that's also another way people can find you. Otherwise, because the turnaround on a video is you spend 14 hours editing something, and then you upload it, and then that's one video a week. Whereas if you took that one video and then you made a bunch of shorts and Instagram reels from that video, then now you have 3 or 4 videos, you know, for 3 weeks going nonstop kind of thing, you know. So it's just a lot more inputs or possible hit points. But it's just something where I'm like, this is another new thing where I gotta make a bunch of damn accounts and set everything up and then learn this and manage that. You know how it is. But yeah.
God, everything's got to be done. Raid says, if I had money, I'd maybe a commission grand to make a figure of him or something. Oh, the captain from Genshin. He'd want a figure of him. Because his design is dope as hell.
Of the captain? Is that the guy with the fists? The fist person? Yeah, man. That, what do you call it? That would be, that'd be, again, the fact that you guys even humor me in that way is always incredibly sweet. As far as people being like, hey, it's a thought in my head that it could be happening, and I'm like, that's very sweet. It probably won't ever be anything more than that, which is fine. And that's just all I need. I'll nourish that flame for as much as possible. When I'm like, will this work out? And I'm like, yeah, you guys say you think it's somewhat cool, so I would have trusted that. But I wanted to ask you so many things, Kat. What do you call it? First of all, you hit me with some stuff because I got a lot of stuff to ramble at you about.
Well, sure. D&D's been fun. I've been keep writing on that world. Been awesome to expand upon.
The Dome Home guy go yet or not? You haven't gotten to it yet.
It has not been gotten to yet. There's a lot of stuff I'm gonna work through. Oh, for sure. The time comes faux show. Between that, I've been just playing games and working. There's not much exciting stuff to talk about.
I was gonna say, what's the update on the job situation? Because I know you were getting after it there for a while, and it seemed like you had to like make up a lot of ground for like this. Essentially, you're in like a situation where basically they seemed like they were like taking you, who is very good about like learning programs and bring yourself up to speed on new technology, and they seemed like they were throwing that at you as kind of like a startup type situation where they're like, yeah, you can learn that a little more, and you're like, okay, is that still a thing or no?
There's certainly a little bit of pressure to get used to some systems I had never really worked with, but at the same time, it's kind of cool, just because they, trusted me to. But it was different than what I had originally thought, in that I was basically working with not a startup necessarily, in terms of something that's brand new, but more of something where they basically said, we have this, this warehouse, I guess is the best way to describe it, of people and technology, and we want you to create a management system. So they're basically like, talk to somebody, scope out like a company that we can buy this from, or possibly that you will create by hand. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that. That's way too much work.
Yeah.
So the first step was to find a company to do that, and then I like talk to them, give them a call, said what I would want, and then we'd have to have meetings and stuff about what money to spend, and it was just kind of a it was just kind of a big project where they just said handle it, and so that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, it is very cool, but I think it's you are a person who, I think when you hear something like that, you're like, yeah, I can handle that. In my head, I think as a third party, I'm like, sounds like they kind of taking advantage of somebody who's just kind of, just do all this super complex stuff and we won't pay you more to do it, but do all that complex stuff, get back, touch champ. And I know for you, and again, to be fair to them as well, it is also like you now have this on your resume where you can be like, oh yeah, I rebuilt this infrastructure from nothing. So that's incredibly incredible. But yeah, I can't. Sorry, what?
No, you can go. Finish. I interrupted you.
Oh, sorry. I was just gonna say this stuff happened beforehand. Like Will Lone was telling me about stuff a long time ago, and he was saying something akin to like, yeah, I work as an intern and all that stuff, and all this stuff, and he kept bringing up like, yeah, we do this and this and this, and it just seemed like a lot of stuff like to do, not randomly, but like, yeah, like, and I maybe it's because I have like an innate bias, but you're like, yeah, you get the benefit of just being here, But when I heard Lone told me that a long time ago, I was thinking the same thing about him, where I'm like, are you sure you're not going to take advantage of me? I just want to make sure you're okay. And he's just like, yeah, no, it's great. I think for him, it actually ended up being pretty okay. But yeah.
Hell yeah, I love that. Between that, I've just been having fun going to the streams, talking with y'all. I had a work lunch with some guys today that I hadn't seen in a while. Got to dick around for like an hour, which was fun. I just love that.
That's awesome. I was about to say, yeah, having like having something that pulls you out is awesome. Like having something like again, I always complain sometimes because like I have a lot of family, like a crazy big family, especially now with nephews. It's just insane, and it's sometimes overwhelming to be like, okay, I gotta get another gift for this person. Okay, we got to stop what we're doing and go to this party, and there's like a birthday party every week. But at the same time, it is also kind of like if I didn't have that, I would just fully fucking be a hermit who just like doesn't leave and doesn't interact with people. So yeah, so yeah. But
They get you out of the house?
if I, yeah, a little bit. But I was gonna say I have some stuff to talk to you about, Cat.
Please do tell.
Okay, so, man, okay, so I've been kind of getting like, I'm in a funk. I feel like I talk to like a lot of people in my family right now, as well, where like it's just I don't know why, but it feels like a weird time. Like maybe my motivation's not really there. I wouldn't even say that's the right way to phrase it. It just feels like off, basically. And I felt like this way for like kind of a month. And the only reason I'm not like, I'm fucked up is because like everyone around me is also feeling this way. So I'm not sure if it's just the environment, like the just blasé of it all. Maybe it's the summer. It's weird, but my family does not
Interesting.
get energized in summer at all. We get like sweaty, gross, and annoyed, and not great. Anyways, but I basically was like, I need like something to focus my attention on that's not just painting, business planning, and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, well, what is that? And I was like, well, I kind of like what do you call it? Persuasion in a lot of ways. Persuasion maybe is the wrong way to phrase, but like communication. Like communication skills are always really interesting to me, especially as a person who was like chronically bad at communicating, especially when I was a kid. So like, How to Win Friends and Influence People was always like a fantastic book I adored. So I was like, okay, well, why don't you just start reading some of those again? So then I used Gemini to basically reverse engineer, like, give me some like really good, like, communication books basically. And I started reading a bunch of them again. And dude, it is so cool again to get into this weird stuff of like this weird subtleties. Like I thought of you when I was thinking about this kind of concept. I think you would appreciate it in some capacity because you were in sales in some capacity. But it's this idea, and maybe it's also that for me, I feel like there's always these things that in life they don't really make sense. For example, in the book that I'm reading, it talks about this exactly, which was, like Heaven's Gate, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah, the cult.
Yeah, the cult. So there's basically, for those guys don't know, which I'm sure you all do, there's a cult who basically all committed suicide basically. And what's crazy is they uploaded like videos of themselves basically being like, yeah, we're gonna go and we're gonna leave our mortal shell or some weird shit. We're gonna go to like the Sky Ferry or all this stuff. And it's just like, what the fuck? And it's funny because in the book, it kind of attributes to like what essentially human nature does a lot of the times is it basically just like, we just dissolve that person as like, that person was crazy, or like that person is abnormal, or that person, has a bunch of, mental issues anyway. And instead, like, we do the same thing, honestly, like with Hitler and stuff like that, where we're like, oh, they were just evil people, insert Nazi people, just awful, etc., etc. But the reality is that these people were able to communicate in such a way that they were able to convince people to do things that are like insane, like it was so against their natural interests. So what is that? And like, how does that function? And like, I think about this all the time as far as like all the other things in my life that I find are like confusing and make me feel like sick a little bit. Like we know someone who's been cheated on. And that's an awful idea. And like, we also know all these other weird things that like, yeah, I knew a person who had like a really good mom, and then for whatever reason, she just started getting like kind of distant, and then she kind of became like mean, and then just the whole family imploded. And this is like, there's a bunch of examples of this, of like, oh yeah, I had a brother, he was so kind, full of life, and then he got in with this crowd, and then he just became like a drug addict, and I can't even recognize it anymore. So like, there's all these things in human existence where I feel like it's just like, best way I can describe it is like a bad ending. Like, you're like, what the fuck happened in like this point and this point in the story to make you just completely change? And I have no idea what that is. And I think so many people attribute that, the same thing is like, oh, they're just a bunch of crazy cults, or that's just, a really powerful, insane dictator person. In reality, maybe we're just not looking at it like an aspect of human nature that we don't really enjoy about ourselves. And to me, that's what the kind of book I'm reading kind of presents. I think it's like both, and it's funny because like the book that I'm reading starts with like, a lot of times you will not like what I'm going to say, because like a lot of it is just something that's kind of uncomfortable to like kind of sit with. But anyways, I wanted to tell you, or I want to tell you about that, and I want to tell you about some of the things that it found, some like key points of human nature that I wanted to ask you about. But what do you think about all that in general? I just really yapped about.
You brought up that book a lot before. I've recognized the title every time you bring it up. I was curious, is that
How to
something
win
you
friends and influence
revisit?
people? Yeah.
Or something you revisit a lot and have like notes on?
Oh, dude, no, it's so funny you say that. I believe that like I read so many books about like here's how to like maybe communicate better. Here's how to do all this stuff and like a bunch of like you're what do you call it? Believe, believe and you will achieve. If you have a thought, it will happen. And I'm like, you're an idiot. Now looking back on it, it was a lot of bullshit. Anyway, point is, but one of the books that to me like genuinely like changed my entire brain was that one. It was the How to Win Friends and Influence People, which by the way, people always get upset about the influence people part. But the reality is it just teaches you how to like think about another person's perspective and stuff like that. But the one thing that sticks out in my head about that book being like godly, and it was like the first unlock in my head when I first heard it, which is basically it said, become the kind of person that genuinely likes to hear what other people have to say. And that first line of become the kind of person that insert whatever you want was the first time it was ever introduced to me of like, but what if you don't have a disposition towards, or like, what if you don't have a disposition towards this or that? And it's like, who cares? You can become that. It doesn't say you can like, oh, I can snap my fingers and I'm just that. It says over time, you can just continue condition yourself to actually enjoy hearing what people have to say. Now, however you do that, maybe you just constantly, you gain benefit and advantage by hearing what people have to say, or maybe you gain connection by that. Whatever the behavior ends up coming from, I still think it's meaningful. But yeah, I was going to say that book to me is so good, but it's so funny because that book is like the not antagonist, it's the alt version of the book I'm currently reading. So How to Win Friends and Influence People is a great way of being like, hey, genuinely care about what people have to say is one of them. And like, remember people's names because it shows all this stuff. So it's like the good side of this. The book I'm reading is kind of a little bit more on like, what is the stuff that people don't want to look at that is like the silent things that affect human nature and have these like chemical reactions such as like cult worship and like suicide and like cheating on your partner and all these like things that we almost just don't want to believe are a reality because they're gross or whatever. It says like it's like let's explore why like how cults make people like go crazy, how a dictator can like rally a nation to do horrible acts. So I just thought that was really fascinating, but I wanted to throw a couple at you and see what you think about certain principles.
It's certainly interesting that you brought up Hitler, especially just because a lot of people immediately gnaw at the bit of like how horrible he was. Yes, of course, you always have to state that you disagree with him, but it's like when people say separate the art from the artist, you're correct in that he got to where he was because he knew people, I guess is the best way I can say it. He knew how to talk to people. I guess he knew the right things, and of course there's probably like a what's the word I'm looking for? A perfect pile of flammable materials basically waiting for him in that post-World War I Germany. Was nuts in terms of the shit they were going through. But I like to think that in the same way that you can practice, like you can read a book to get smarter, you can exercise to get faster, stronger. If you just talk to people and learn, I'm sure you could improve your charm, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I get so much to say about that. So, but for real quick, I've seen Ray. I'll check out the picture. Just can you remind me in like maybe 30 minutes? Because I just don't want to lose my train of thought. Because I'll definitely fucking black out right now and just forget what I'm trying to say. But I was gonna say, so that was one of the things that really, it's hard to describe. Basically, I'm trying to find the best way to go about saying this. But basically, so let me ask you this question. This is how one of the things the book starts on. How do you feel about the word manipulation?
Is in what context?
You're
like manipulating a person?
Yeah, someone would be like, you're manipulative.
I would respond, you're susceptible to manipulation.
It's your fault. It's your fault, actually.
If someone really brings that up to me in terms of like they're cornering me and trying to call me out on something, that's what I'd do. Just because I hate people who are like, I have to bring up this problem that I feel you have in front of you or in front of other people.
Oh, it's so
if
fucking
they're doing that.
You mention all this.
But
the book touches on all this. I'm so happy.
if they just pull you aside and they're like, hey dude, I think you're being really manipulative, then I'd be like, well, what are you talking about? I'd basically work through it, and I'd ask how and why he perceives that, and then if he goes through all his points and I'm like, oh yeah, to me the definition is like you are basically saying things that you usually don't mean, or you do mean but you want a result that you can't get by telling the person the honest truth. So
okay.
if I agree with them that I haven't been doing that, then I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I am kind of manipulative in that way. But if they tell me all the reasons and I'm like, dude, no, that's called a counter argument to your idea. It's not me manipulating you.
Yeah.
Me telling you I don't agree with what you're doing.
If I were to give you a specific scenario where, like, let's say, you know, I was telling you were telling me, you know, you read How to Win Friends and Influence People, and you were telling your friend about, like, hey, yeah, man, one of the things it talked about was, like, how important it is just to kind of smile and kind of speak in a warm cadence so that people kind of have as many mental signals as possible that you are, like, a positive, happy thing. Like, you're not a threat, basically. You're everything but a threat. And you were talking to your friend about this, and then he says, it just sounds like you're manipulative, like you're pretending to be this thing that you are. So
is this something that happened to you?
No. This is just because I wanted to go into it.
I was curious. I didn't know if you had a response that you said in real life, but if someone said that, and I'd be like, well, at a certain point, I mean, if you've ever worked customer service, you smile when you don't want to smile because there's people you don't need to upset, you don't want to upset, or it's too much effort to upset them and deal with the consequences. So sure, I'll lie in that way, and if that's manipulative, then I don't mind being that way. But I don't feel like it is. Especially if you're sorry, one more thing. Especially if your planned outcome is to make both parties happy. Then it's much less manipulative in that you're like, I want to pretend to be happy because I want to make you happy because I don't feel like actually being happy right now. But I want you to be happy, so I will pretend.
So what I would kind of go into a little bit is I would say, why do you wear clothing? Why don't you just walk around nude? Why do you say hi? Why do you hold the door open for people? Why do you do anything you do? And this is what it's funny because I've always kind of had this passive thought, which is like, yeah. And the reason why I mention it is because the book opens in this way. And he's like, a lot of people will describe what I'm trying to teach you as like how to manipulate people. Or they'll say how to persuade people. And he's like, they both mean the same fucking thing. And he's like, the reality is that everybody in the planet, everyone on the planet does a certain thing, that does certain things, whether it's social norms or whatever it is. We all just conform into a thing that makes us the most pleasant to deal with, whether that's like information through reinforcement that we had when we were a kid, where we realize when we laugh at our friends' jokes or whatever, that ends up being nice. Maybe we don't say the cruelest thing to them. All these things. So like everybody at a base level is quote unquote manipulating people, if you want to use that word, to their various own ends. Now, it doesn't mean that you are being evil because you are happening to say something that has the best outcome for that person and for you. So when I read the book, I was like, yeah. And to me, it was like one of the first chapters where I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Because like, yeah, and it's tough because like again, the word persuasion is a lot more people like something that people like a lot more. It sounds nicer, but the reality is like you're kind of are manipulating people. Like the fact that you like, because like again, maybe people would like push back against this idea of like, well, what is your nature? So like if you were like the last man on the planet, the last person on the planet, what would you do? Like maybe you would walk around butt ass naked. Maybe you would like just say whatever racial obscenity you possibly wanted. Maybe you would just go fucking off. But I think the vast majority of people wouldn't. And also I think like, yeah, but it's almost like, okay, yeah, but in this specific environment, you do not have any stimulus that is going to pull that out of you. So of course you wouldn't. Like it's like a non question, I guess, if I could put it in any way to phrase it. But one of the things that it goes on to talk about, so it mentions that of like, okay, so we're going to talk about persuasion skills within this book, and we're going to talk about like these things that are going to make you uncomfortable because they kind of communicate something when it comes to human nature. And one of the premises, the first kind of like thing it tries to introduce you to, and I'm curious what you think about this, is it talks about this, which is every single person, whether you know it or not, actually is an addict.
Oh yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, to something.
Yeah, to something. Now,
sure.
Okay, so I'll tell you a story that it gives to articulate a point. I want to see if you could pick up the point. Have you ever been like, I think it usually happens when you're in high school or something like that, where like, you're kind of walking around and then you see a fountain, like just a normal fountain to get some water. and then you're like, oh shit, I guess I'll go grab some. So then you start drinking some of the water from the fountain, and then you, for whatever reason, you did not know how absolutely thirsty you were, and you sit there and you drink and you drink and you drink, and you're like, oh my god, it's so fucking good. I did not realize how much thirsty I was. This is delicious. Oh my god. And it's almost like you kind of pop out of your mind for like a few seconds, and then you're kind of finished. You know, turn off the fountain, and you kind of go about your business. What do you feel about that?
I drank a lot of water.
Drank a lot of water, but you didn't actually have any interest in drinking water, really. You kind of just were like, I guess I could drink some water, and then you were surprised by the fact that you fucking loved it. You actually need it, and you drank a lot.
I think there's definitely a bit of human instinct there, where it's like, oh, well, since we have the resource, we might as well take as much as we can get. But I don't really see much psychology in there. I'm curious what you're getting at.
So basically, I think there's many things like this, that where basically you go through your life, and maybe have you ever had a moment where you're talking to somebody and you've only been talking for maybe like 10 minutes, and you feel like you immediately jump to like, I feel like I could talk to this person about anything. Like I feel like I'm like, I've known this person for a long time. Have you ever had any moments like that? And you're like, yeah. So we basically have all of these moments where, and I think the water fountain example is great because it basically shows that you can be wandering through your life doing X, Y, Z, and you're not even really, you know, you don't really even notice something. But as soon as you get it, it's almost like your brain just turns off. Like you cease to really understand. You just indulge, and you're just kind of like, oh my god, the water's so good. I didn't even know I was this thirsty. Or maybe you're talking to your friend or this person that you've never talked to, and you're like, oh my god, dude, that like 2 hours flew by like nothing. What happened? And it's basically, it kind of anchors itself to this kind of persuasive concept, which I think is really interesting, which is that all of us are basically addicts. The thing that sucks and the thing that's kind of terrifying in some ways, and this is kind of weird, but if every human being on the planet is an addict, in the sense that we have this thing that we do not know, but when we are introduced to it, we almost like cease to be us for a few moments and just ravenously indulge, and then we kind of come back to our senses in a moment. It kind of is terrifying because you're like, okay, well, what is that for me? And like I told you the good examples of it, like, okay, you met a guy at a bar, you're having fun, you don't know, and oh my god, it's like you've known this guy forever and you're having a great time. Maybe you just made a fast friend, awesome. You know, oh, I just got some water. But the alternative is okay, you're this wife that you've known, or your friend's girlfriend who you've known for such a long time, who's like, you know, happy girlfriend, etc. She ends up cheating on the partner. You're like, what the fuck? They seem like they were such a happy couple. What happened? And it all comes back to this idea of like, there is a hidden addiction that you do not know, that when somebody satisfies that or introduces that to you, you don't even realize how like lost in it you are. And yeah, curious what you think about all that.
So basically, are you saying that it is not up to you to react to it? Like once you start doing this thing that you didn't know you're addicted to, you can't stop?
Not necessarily. It's almost like it's the same as a drug, where like you basically, again, like no one thinks heroin is going to hit, or everyone thinks heroin's going to hit, sorry, but no one thinks it's going to be as addictive as it likely is. So when they experience it, it's almost like you're like pulled in a different direction. So, and I think the book kind of talks about this, and this is why it's kind of interesting to talk about it, because like you still have discipline and autonomy to choose to say no. Yeah. But this is the thing that the book asks, which is, okay, so what if you can't detect it?
What if you can't detect that you need to say no?
No, what if you can't detect the drug?
Oh, what if you don't realize you're addicted to something?
Yeah. And then you have it, and then you don't realize, holy fucking shit, I didn't realize how much I needed this.
I would say finding out that you do need it the hard way would be terrible. That's what I'd say for sure.
Yeah, so it's funny because it mentions these kind of things in the book a lot, which is basically like, okay, say say a person is, a husband comes back from his wife and whatnot, and he's talking to this person. He doesn't realize that like the thing that he's starved for, he can't even, like, he's trying to manage his work, dude. He's driving his kids to soccer practice. He has a little bit of time at the end of the day to play some video games. So he just doesn't even realize that the one thing he's like super craves is someone just to like ask him, or maybe it's not even that. Maybe it's like what is it called? maybe just ask him how his day is, or something like that. Or maybe it's make him feel like he's valuable because maybe he's just constantly seen as like a pair of hands to go do this and that. So you live your whole
Yeah.
life and then you don't realize that that one girl at the bar basically somehow, some way perfectly satisfies that like deep hunger, and you don't necessarily do anything stupid, but you just like an addict, you now have a drug and you know where to go get it. It doesn't mean you compromise your beliefs, but it means now you start to like, I didn't even realize I needed this so much, and then you go to that person. So it's terrifying in the sense of like you don't like. This is why I say it's like hard for human nature as far as like how you are. But like, can you imagine, Kat? You're going through your life and you don't even realize how like desperately in need of this thing you are, and how like somebody who's able to look at you, who's able to analyze what that is, and then give it to you. And by giving it to you, probably has some sort of fucked up kind of persuasive, manipulative control over you to some capacity.
Just
Is that not freaky?
that is freaky in that you looped it all
Yeah.
back into there. It's freaky, yeah, that you
So-
looped it all back into the manipulation thing. I was curious where you were going with that. Does this tie into the like making offers and selling products?
Kind of. The book is more about like the idea of persuasion in general, and it kind of the idea is like what are these like kind of things about human nature that result in like a Hitler happening, or result in like a cult leader being able to convince a group of people to do these things. So the book basically says, okay, the first premise is like, okay, let's say we're all addicted, and let's say we basically do not know the things that we are addicted to, and I feel like a lot of this is easy to understand if you're like a person who's like, yeah, dude, the first time like a girl, showed she was interested in me, I was in love, like maybe we didn't have our girlfriend in your life or anything like that, so people can understand like that, I guess. But it basically goes into these things that are like, okay, so yes, we all know the example of like maybe there's a girl who has daddy issues or something like that, and basically she says she wants this person is good guy, all that stuff, but the reality is she's naturally drawn to this other thing. Now, why is that? It's probably because she has this silent addiction that this person satisfies, that she doesn't know she needs it to be satisfied so much, but she ends up autonomously going that direction.
Yeah.
So that's more of a specified thing of like individually based on your own lived experience, you could have like these addictions, these like weak points. But what if there were addictions that were we all have basically these types of addictions basically, and what if by knowing a handful of them you could unfortunately like sway people just like people do with cults and whatnot. So I wanted to tell you some of these like generalized addictions and see what you think. What surprises me though, man, is a lot of these addictions they're like consistent throughout most humans are not like that. How like I could tell you the example of like, yeah, a girl who basically grew up without a father, and maybe she doesn't have that kind of presence, so she thirsts for like male support and like reassurance. I could tell you that, and that's complex, but you can understand it. And that's also kind of like interesting, like, oh, that makes sense, it's kind of this and this. But a lot of them are just like not that complicated. Like a lot of the addictions are like, yeah. So I want to tell you one of them. Do you know what any of them could be? Any kind of sense?
Definitely.
It's like a universal addiction.
Definitely appreciation for one of them, or recognition, if you want to say it in another way.
I was gonna say the book defines it as the capacity to be understood.
Affection
needed.
has to be another. What's the word? Fulfillment, I guess. Feeling like you are complete in that regard. Safety's got to be one. Huh?
I was gonna say, funny enough, safety. So one of the things the book also mentions really quick is it talks about like how Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I'm sure you've heard that before. Yeah. So it's basically, if anyone hasn't heard, it's basically like we need social interaction, we need a roof over our heads, we need food and water. Basically, it's like the things that human people need. But it makes a good argument in the very beginning, which is, okay, we might need these things, but like, have you ever been like really hungry? And then like, your friend just immediately sees you and starts talking to you, and you cease to become hungry. You almost get absorbed into whatever that most interesting thing is.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you have a house over your head, but yet you get a text from your friend, or you see a meme on your phone, and you forget the fact that maybe your plumbing's broken or something like that. So it makes this idea of like, sure, we all have these hierarchy of needs, but the most demanding need is what we're kind of living through right now, which is this sea of engagement. So like, yes, you need food, yes, you need all that stuff, but all that stuff can be overridden with engagement, YouTube, TikTok, anything. So basically, it's the first thing that can like get your frontal brain to like look at this, look at the shiny new object.
Like that
Which I think
Markiplier
is
keys
really-
bit.
Yeah. So like the idea of like, okay, we have a need for safety. Do we? Or do we have a need to kind of not be bored, to be entertained, to have someone like make us feel alive, to kind of give us whatever we're addicted to? And to me, I just when reading this, I'm like, yeah, I can't kind of argue with any of that. But one of the things, and this is what I meant by like how simple they are. And I gotta use the washroom, so I'm gonna use the washroom. I want to tell you this first. I want to hear you ramble at it about it while I walk away for a couple seconds. But one of the addictions that it mentions is we all have this addiction that, if satisfied, will result in an amplification of persuasion or whatever to this person, and that is the addiction to need to be right.
Interesting. All right, well, Grin's gone. Quick catch up on chat. Thank you, Raid and Fluff, for stopping by and for chatting as well. Raid, this game reminds you of Starbound. I can see why. Kind of. Let's see it. Recognition is a big one. I feel like that is too. I feel like a lot of people want to be seen. You know, they want to be heard. That's why like half of the Disney movies had that as a plot. At least that's my suggestion. If I was to write a Disney movie, it would definitely be something about recognition. Hope you guys like the Rimworld save. We've been working on it for quite a while. Rule a good bit of this mountain. Quick tour, we got the nuclear lab back here. I was working on putting more fuel rods in this thing. Big type reactor. Sometimes we freeze when I have these things right here just because so many mods. We've got the crop area. Someone puked. No, it's insect sludge. Never mind. And batteries. Storage room right here. Little factory. Ooh. What's up, Grin? Doing a quick tour.
I know. I can listen to it all the time.
Oh, there you go. We got the medical storage area and a giant freezer. Is this door open? Good. No. Got the recreation area. Like a little chess table, kind of arcade machine.
It looks beautifully effective.
Got the bunks. Oh yeah, it's a big old mountain bunker. We have the main kind of
like
area.
Would say.
We have the prisoner area where they have these little boxes. We have the gene lab where we're currently cooking up the super soldier genes, which I'm pretty excited about. These have taken a long time. Genes are one of my favorite part of this game. We got the actual laboratory lab with all the computers and shit. We have the manufacturing area with one of our mech suits ready for if we get attacked.
Are you underground?
Oh yeah, I'm in a mountain.
Yeah.
So
it looks like you're buried in somewhere.
Yeah, we basically have this little caldera between these giant rocks. This little blockage right here. Also, how's my delay, by the way? You tell what I'm talking about? Or am I delayed as hell still?
Right now I'm seeing the white mecha thing right now.
Okay, so I'm still delayed. Damn, I thought I changed that. Oh yeah, there's a lot going on, Raid. That's for sure.
But I was gonna say, Raid mentioned one of them exactly. So like one of the another subtle addiction is the book defines it as the need to be understood and the need to be wanted, or no, maybe wanted wasn't it? Maybe it was important. But basically, like, everyone innately wants to be understood, and everyone wants to be needed, essentially. So that was one of the things in addiction. And the reason why I bring that up is because, to me, it explains why like cults are so successful. Is because ultimately, like if you look at almost every person who is a part of a cult, it's a person who has like a deep-seated want to be of longing, of like wanting to be a part of something, of wanting others to understand them and see them. If you think about it, like a lot of the things that aren't quite cults but are kind of cults, like whether it's like the LGBT community or like the Jewish community or the church or whatever, all of these things, they all have these elements of like basically like, you know, we'll accept you, you know, we'll try to understand you, you know, we'll all these things. But I bring that one up. I'm sorry if I'm taking too much ground here, Kat. I was gonna say, the thing that really is interesting to me about that one I mentioned as I left was the deep desire to want to be right. And it's funny because a lot of times it's weird because it kind of plays within this kind of, it's hard to describe, but like sometimes a person's wrong. So like, what do you do with that? Like, yes, it's nice to when someone's basically like, you know what, I'll concede the point, or I did make a mistake and you're right. Because ultimately, and it's weird because it goes into a bunch of these psychological principles of like through like survival and evolution, we kind of want to be right. We like if we're wrong, there's a cost to being wrong, especially in terms of survival. So we all have this desire to want to be right. But how do you play with that as far as like letting people be right when they're right, but also maybe not? Like maybe how do you basically disagree with someone? And it kind of goes into this complexity too. Maybe. So round off what we were talking about.
I get you. I appreciate you finishing up. It's a lot to think about. I'll ask you a question and then I want to finish the base tour real quick, but for you to think about, do you think it is manipulative in terms of appearing certain ways to people in order to get them to do what you want? That specifically.
No, so this is something.
But you gotta really think about that for like a minute or two while I finish this real quick.
Yep.
I appreciate you.
Yep.
Real quick, but why did I just lose power? I have no idea. I'll figure that out later. Anyways, manufacturing area. We have a small area. I'm still deciding what to do with. A little table area I need to make nicer. It's like the floor is still dirt. A lot of the floor is still stone. I haven't fixed that yet. A little medic hall for people as well. We have one of my favorite areas. It's kind of bland, but it's not what is in the area, or what is the area that's important. It's what's in it. I have my spider tank, I call the tarantula. That is basically a giant railgun holding two-legged cyberpunk boss. So I'm quite happy about that. Why do I have no power? That's basically it in terms of the rest of it, other than I have a ton of robots running around. Or all of my little guys. There's a ton of them, just they all do different functions and they all have different guns. So they help out with stuff. But I was curious, Grin, what do you think? In terms of at the end of the day, would you recommend that book to people who are trying to learn what that book is teaching?
So there's multiple questions. The first one, would I suggest the book? I probably wouldn't, because I don't think many people like that kind of stuff. Like I think one of the things I had to learn really quickly is that like I'm very similar to so many people. Like I'm not very unique as a person. I like the same Avengers movies you do. I like anime the same way you do. Like I have very little things I'm actually very like, maybe it's abnormal in. But one of the things I am probably more abnormal in is I do not dislike. It's hard to describe, but like basically there's certain things that people I think have an aversion to. Like for instance, it was one of the reasons why I connect so well with Kat. Is Kat's one of the few people I've been able to actually communicate to who genuinely, similar to me, enjoys when somebody pushes against their way of thinking, or like gets them to kind of clarify their thinking. And a lot of times when you're bringing up something to someone else, a lot of times they'll feel attacked, or they'll feel like I don't know how I feel about that, and I don't really want to think about it. And if you're right, then that means I'm wrong, and this means this. And I think that's something that people have a reaction to, basically. And I tend to not be that way. I tend to love when someone kind of like has to explain why they believe what they believe and what they think they believe, but it's also exhausting for a lot of people. So the book is essentially that. It's like, what if there were reasons why bad things happened? What if there were reasons why monsters could convince good people to do very, very bad things? And at the very least, the book is really good in the sense of like, if you understand these things, you can understand how these things happen, so you're not confused or lost in the world. But also, you can protect yourself against these things somewhat. Again, and also it kind of puts things in perspective of like the fragility of you. Like if it is true that we do have these kind of like silent addictions that we do not know how starved for attention or to be right or any of these things, and we are introduced to someone who says all of the right things, then yes, you could basically be surprised at what you'd do, what you'd compromise, all these things. But the one thing I will say from the book that does freak me out even more is how I don't even know if you could see it.
Think
and
that
that's the thing
to you?
that's like, yeah. So like, if you give the example of, let's say, like one of the principles it talks about is isolation, basically. So like it talks about how a lot of these cult leaders and all that stuff basically have will use isolation to, isolate a person so that basically it's actually what gaslighting comes from. The people don't realize this, but gaslighting actually comes from a movie that came out a long time ago, where a person, basically a husband, was trying to convince his wife that she was insane, so he would light a gas lantern and he would flicker the light, and he kept doing this like 1,000 different ways. So she started to basically lose touch on reality, especially as she mentioned like something out. So basically, what gaslighting is strictly defined as is making you call into question what you think is true, so that you look to me to fill in the blank. And people don't use gaslighting in the definition at all, even though that's the definition. They use it as like, of course I wouldn't do that to you, babe. Babe, I would never. I showed so many times that I showed up, and it's just like, that's not what it actually is at all.
Yeah.
But one of the things it talks about was, one of the principles of, one of the things it talks about is the idea of isolation being a very big variable of persuasion. So you can think of people who like go to a distant island, or all these things are like retreats that go to a specific spot, etc. So you can't really escape. So you're just stuck in the environment that is going to, of course, be angled towards you. But one of the things it talked about was, okay, so let's say one of the ways you can isolate somebody is by actually not, you can do it physically, which people, of course, that's obvious. But another way you could do it that's physical but not physical, which is the idea of, what if I gave you so many things to manage and do that you didn't really have time to do anything else, or to think about anything else? Yeah, so it's like, that's we think about businesses that do this. We think about soccer moms who are going on empty, that are just like continuing to do this. But again, if we know people's addictions, we can know that, okay, people have a deep desire to want to be needed, wanted, to be told that they're right. So if you tell that soccer mom all those things, she'll be even more likely to be able to maintain that. But that also will isolate her, because she doesn't have any time for friends anymore. She doesn't have time for any of those things anymore. But so that one's kind of more clear. But the other one that to me was surprising, which is like, again, I keep coming back to this, where like, I don't know how you are aware of it. So let me give you guys an example. And forgive me if I come across as a sociopath. It's just, to me, this is the way the book lays it out, and this is the way that I have to like think through it and all that stuff. And I think it maybe is helpful for people to be like, that's so hard to detect. So one of the ways you can isolate someone, the book talks about, is basically, I just lost my train of thought. Isolate people physically and the mental. But that's how you can do it. So I can reveal something invisible. So let's say you have a girlfriend, okay? And let's say, let's say we're like, this is a version of us that's somewhat not a dickhead or a psychopath, right? Let's say you have a girlfriend, and let's say, she hasn't got over her like kind of what's it called, party culture. She still wants to go clubbing out with her friends and all that kind of stuff. And you're kind of just, maybe let's just say you have a really good reason why that's not a good idea. Maybe you've been hurt before in the past, whatever it could be. So ultimately, your objective as a sociopath in this instance is how do I get her to not go out anymore? So one of the ways you can do that is basically reveal something invisible. So you could basically say, and this is what I mean by it's super hard to detect. So you could say, "Oh, honey, I understand that you want to go out and party. I've heard these things, on these kind of attacks that happen on the road, like last night. What do you call it? And I'm just kind of scared for you. Do you have any plan? Like, do you have any plan that like how you would solve that? Because I go to bed at like 10. So if you phone me, there's like you're literally out there by yourself. You could do nothing. So I'm worried about you, and I wanted to kind of run that by you, and I wanted to know if like if do you have any plan? Do you have any like safety net? And I'm not trying to tell you not to go out. Again, I want you to be happy. These are just things I worry about, because again, you're just what would you do? What would you do? And you basically are constantly like revealing a fear that this is the thing why I say it's untraceable, because like, what is she gonna do? Is she like, yeah, my boyfriend's being manipulative because he cares about you and he doesn't want you to go be harmed? Like, you can't fucking tell. It's like, that's what I mean. And this is why, to me, it's like, it's one of those things where you're like, fuck, dude. Like, it's funny because like after reading a lot of the book, I come back to this idea of like, I don't vibe with you, basically, which is just not a reaction. But like, it sucks because like the more somebody understands about all those dynamics, the more they'll just not be like, again, it's a fucked up thing, but like in media and in culture, we are constantly shown like the maniacal manipulating guy who's like clearly, the camera pans as he looks in the camera and chuckles or something. And it's just like, no, dude, what if somebody just knows like social engineering enough to where they always position themselves in such a way that they are perceived as like totally caring and kind, and yet is constantly angled towards like kind of in some way having like a nudge of control over you. And that to me is what like the one takeaway from the book where I'm like, I don't know if I like that, like, because at least beforehand in my dumb head, I could like, you would tell, there was a sign, there's signs, guys. But even as I run through the scheme in my head, I'm like, I don't know how you would tell, because everything positions him as being a kind, caring boyfriend. In reality, he's just infecting you with stuff. Like, we all know the example of like this in a different way. Let's say, because maybe there's a female who's watching this in past broadcasts. So let's say you have a girlfriend, and let's say she has a group of friends that she just loves going to get coffee with, and for whatever reason, one of her girlfriends, we're just going to say in this story, is very not friends, like very not good with her. She in fact, she's like been divorced many times, and she just hates the fact that she got it right. So what is she going to do to basically, stop her from being happy or like, corrupt her relationship? Will she say, I just don't think he's right for you. I just think, you deserve better. Would that be what they'd say? No. Well, you would if you're a fucking shitty persuader. But instead what she would say is she'd probably be like, honey, have you heard about what happened to Brenda? Oh my God, she got cheated on, and it was 8 years. 8 years they were together. Can you believe that? Oh my God. And it came out of nowhere. Well, not nowhere. There were signs. He did. He stayed away quite a long time. He worked kind of long hours. He smelled some stuff on the collar, and basically, it's just this person. And again, she's like, what could you say to that person? You're not gonna be like, you're trying to ruin my relationship. It's like, I'm just worried for you, honey. I just don't want you to get hurt. And yet, and this is another one of these like reinforcement things, which is like, again, all it is revealing something that there was not known. And by revealing something that's not known, you now open that possibility up for that person, even if you're not saying, like, I think your husband's cheating on you. You can just keep throwing instances of people cheating and the various things that cause that, and keep hiding behind the smokescreen of I care about you so much. And once again, I am lost in this. We're fucked, dude. Like, what do you do with that? So, what do you think about all that, man? Also, Ray, we'll check on that thing in a minute. I just want to get Kat's pulse on this.
Well, I was curious if you've ever thought if this has happened to you, and at the same time, I think that this has happened to all of us, and that there's tons of times our parents have done this for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the exact parent strategy of like, oh, are you sure you're gonna have fun at that party or blah blah blah, just to kind of like a simple nudge of like, I don't want you to go. I can understand how this is something that people would do, especially like the classic, oh, don't tell your partner what to do, and then you're like, well, my partner is going out and hanging out like at underground rave where 8 people overdosed 2 weeks ago, and that's a low count, exactly. And you're like, I don't want them to hang out there anymore. And so you're like, well, what do I do? And I could see how people can arrive at that conclusion, especially if not everything else has worked.
I was gonna say, good for you, Kat, because I find like sometimes I have a hard disposition to find out what that is, but that's exactly like a good version of this. Like, and I think that's like, it's one of the things that like all of these things, especially the book that this talks about, is all just kind of tools of like, hey, does this make sense to you? Yeah, then it makes sense. But it doesn't necessarily mean like that it can only be deployed in moments of badness. Another one of them that I thought was interesting was basically you give, it basically can reveal something to it's hard to describe. Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's hard to really kind of break down. But anyways, I've talked enough about that. I'm sorry. I know I'm probably rambled way too much about that, but it's just something I've been reading about and thinking about, and I just think it is so interesting to me whilst also being uncomfortable, basically. And yeah, maybe it's just me, but yeah.
Oh, I could see that. Especially with how everything is these days, and everyone's like, oh, I read this psychology book and now I can manipulate everyone, or people think that with astrology and everything they have you all figured out. Everybody wants to know. Everybody wants to know what's going on. Yeah. Everybody wants to say that they're like, oh, I know the secret to everything. So it's interesting to hear from this perspective.
That's why I enjoy like a lot of the books I read. You completely distrust people who say like this is what happens. Like it's like the con artist #1 thing, which is like, this will happen, you will get this outcome. And instead, a lot of times the book I like that I find are worth their salt are like, this is just an accumulation of a bunch of evidence that to me makes sense. And that's not like, maybe it's like a wrong way to think about it, but like, I don't know if it's like street smarts, wherever the hell you want, but like it's your bullshit detector. It's the thing that we're like, it kind of makes sense to me. Like again, like when I talk about like the idea of somebody being able to like point out threats around you to make you conform to what they want, I feel like someone could say that. Someone could do that. Like that's not something that's like, maniacal or like super out of the way. Also, let me quickly jump over to our Discord. Where was it? Raid? Was it this character? Oh no, I
Do
see.
you never feel like you're manipulating people when you try to offer them something, like through what you're trying to sell? Be it the free masks, where you're like, take this free mask and maybe sign up for my mailing list.
Well, that was your original question, which I thought was interesting too, which is like you said, do you believe it's manipulative, basically, or like do you believe you have manipulated people? To me, again, I come back to the same point of like, I think everybody is somewhat manipulating everybody. Like the reason why you say nice things, or not say nice things, maybe that's being not genuine enough, but like why you smile at people, why you choose to like shake someone's hand, why you choose to like hug someone when you leave. Like these are all things that you do that you don't necessarily need to do, but you do them. And why do you do them? People would argue, some people would just be like, I do them because they're just me and I like them. And sure, I don't disagree with that. I just don't think that's entirely fair. I think a lot of us do stuff in the subconscious of our brain that is telling us to do something for, again, this is what you mentioned, which I very much am in this kind of mindset, which is, what do you call it? It's, like, let me ask you a question, Kat. This is maybe we'll put a bow on this. But no, yes and no, basically, is the answer to that question. If you could guarantee, like let's say I put you in a special little capsule and I say, okay, Kat, this is what's going to happen to you. I'm going to give you a wife, and this wife is going to love you. She is going to take care of you. She is going to nurture you, and she is going to give you the best fucking wife husband experience you've ever felt. And then on your deathbed, she is going to, some sort of thing, that just magical entity thing is going to tell you something that 100% convinces you that it's true. And that thing says, this person actually never loved you. And then what would be your last fleeting thought and moment in that, right there, on your deathbed?
There's probably a mix of like, I don't know if I believe that, number one.
That's why I gave you the thing of like, somehow there's some spatial entity that says, yep, down right to your bones that she actually never loved you.
I know, and then I say right back, I don't know if I believe that. Just because after everything I went through, it's hard to believe. Yeah. There's so much we did together, so much life we lived, especially if like we met when we were, I don't know, in our 20s or something. We spent 60 years. I'd be like, there had to be something. There's no way she's just putting on an act for so long. And what I'd say to myself is...
Sorry, I was going to say, what if somehow you could for sure, like, let's say there's a version of you that believes it.
Yeah? Was that it?
Yeah. Sorry, that was it. Yeah. Well, what if, like, because you're saying, like, well, I would reject the premise of the truth of what the voice says. But in this example, what if you could, like, you genuinely believe right down to your bones, were like, wow, she didn't actually love me. What would be your, like the final thing that you would say to her as you were on your deathbed?
Just to say, well, thanks for the fun, I guess. I had fun. It's a good 60 years.
I was gonna say, so for me, I kind of, this is where a reason I bring up the question, just to be completely honest and kind of show everything. This is why, like, I enjoy this type of thing where, like, I can ask a question, I kind of want to fish essentially for your various responses, then be able to tell you why I asked it, so it's not manipulative in nature. It's if anything, it's just telling you why I wanted to know this about you. But basically, the reason why I asked the question is because I want to see. Well, one, like, you said something a little bit in the stream where you said, what about the outcome, basically? So, like, the outcome is that this person, even though they didn't love you, still in every single facet of every single way, showed up and demonstrated love to you. It's almost like the Alduin quote, or not Alduin, what is it called? Basically, is it better to be born a it's better to be born a hero or born a villain and choose to be a hero, basically, whatever kind of way you want to phrase it.
No, I know what the actual quote is.
Yeah, I know. Do you want to go with it? What's the quote?
No, I understand. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. But I was gonna say, to me, it's a similar kind of concept of like, cause I put myself in that position too, and I would say, like, what would I feel? Well, I'd probably feel a little bit of sadness, but I think the overwhelming feeling I'd have is like, what's the word to describe it as?
Melancholy?
I can't think of the. What do you say?
Melancholy, maybe.
No, 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 it wouldn't be melancholy. It would be like gratitude. That would be the number one thought I'd have is it like a profound sense of gratitude.
Yeah,
Because
kind of like what I said.
if
I
you
said thanks for the fun.
yeah, exactly. No, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Except mine wouldn't be like thanks for the fun. It'd be like I hope in my next life I could love you back in the same way, or I could convince you in the same way. Basically, to me the profound feeling of somebody like choosing you and doing everything right, because like the end result is still them like showing up for your kids, taking care of you when you're sick, like everything. So like the idea of like, and then it's funny because like if you actually think about this question, it's like, what is love even worth then? Like would you rather have love, Kat, or would you rather have someone that demonstrates in actions almost all the time what would be care? Maybe was the right phrase, not love, but care. And I'm like, dude, I think I'd fucking take care. I'd take a person who like, you know, shows up and is there for you and is constantly there to support you than someone who is like, what feels this stirring of emotion of the whatever you want to define as love. Also, I forgot what I was gonna say on top of that.
It's certainly
no,
hard.
probably just that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
It's certainly hard because the debate of like, okay, well, yeah, what is love? Is it someone doing something despite the odds? Is it someone doing something like every day, even if there are no odds to go against?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. It's funny because like, again, one of the things you mentioned, and this is something I kind of believe with, which is at the end of the day, I think like, you know, people have a sense of morality. People have a bunch of, you know, various religious beliefs around all these things. And to me, the one thing I kind of come back to continually is, well, did you leave like the world or whatever in a better state than what you left it in? And kind of like an end state kind of mindset, which I know is not necessarily always good. Like the idea of like, okay, in this particular instance, your wife basically left, like, you know, she left behind kids that know they loved her, a husband that felt absolutely loved, and maybe she didn't even feel this way, but she still left behind all that stuff. And to me, it's like the end state. So the reason why I bring this up to bring it all around is because you brought up the question of how do I feel about like manipulation, essentially, or persuasion, or any of these ways you want to define it. Communication is also another way to phrase it. And to me, I come back to like, yes, there's the version of a person who's like this psychotic ex-boyfriend or boyfriend who is manipulating the person he loves to get them to conform to whatever whim they want. Same, vice versa for a dude. But at the end of the day, what if you were that? What if you were this person who did know how to, the exact thing to say to somebody to get them to stop a destructive behavior and or to have a significantly more meaningful and wonderful life? Maybe you'd still say, yeah, but it should be their choice. Okay, maybe, but like if I tell that to myself and I'm like, well, what if I didn't know somebody was like doing all this stuff for my own massive benefit? Would I hate them? I don't think I'd ever hate them. I think I may be annoyed because I want to be a part in the conversation or the choice. But that's kind of how I feel about the whole manipulation thing, which is like at the end of the day, if it's dominantly used to like build people up and to like give them confidence and to give them reassurance and to have them reach for more ambitions that they could ever dream of, then I think that's a better existence to have left behind than somebody who is just blocked out their eyes, forgot about human nature, and decided that, you know, they didn't actually, you know, I'm just not going to look at it, and I'm just going to, whatever happens, it's fate. It's like, why not have a control or autonomy over your life in some capacity? Anyways.
Well, to follow that up with, have you ever seen the movie The Truman Show?
I have.
So, what do you
Matrix
think?
Is a similar question.
He spent his whole life being manipulated by everyone, and the movie, I think that's the most poignant part to this conversation, is the movie ends with the director as one last attempt to get him to stay. He goes, you have your whole life here, all your friends here, everyone here loves you, you make the whole country happy, you have your, like, now fake, but you have your very real family that you spent time with and are thinking about having kids with, your wife. And your wife, did she love you? Or was she a paid actress, but she made you happy? So would you stay?
Well, there's also the Matrix question, which is like, I feel like the Matrix question
that's different. Real quick, that's
Okay.
different just because you don't have the family, the friends, the nice life. The Truman Show makes that different. Do you in the Matrix? Do you think?
Yeah, the Matrix. I think you're in like the Matrix. You're basically like you have the life inside the Matrix. So you have like the friends and the family.
More
and the
Neo.
people you've had all the time.
Neo was like stuck in a dead
Neo,
end
so
office.
You're alone.
Neo was stuck in a dead end office job. He was
so your
depressed.
life sucks, basically.
Yeah.
So your life sucks, and do you care if the world burns alive? You're like, well, my life sucks, so fuck the world. but the Truman Show, it's funny because the Truman Show to me, I think I see what you're saying, but to me, I think the premise to me is not the same in the sense that it's hard to describe, but basically I don't find like basically the question is like in the Truman Show, everything in your life is a lie. So it's not even that like some aspects are a lie or like this person is a lie. It's that every single thing, every time you go to eat something, you know it's not real. Every time you get a compliment, you know it's not real. Whereas the idea that to me is like it's interesting because like everything can be poisoned, just like water can poison you. Even somebody who has your best interest at heart can also be poisoned. You know, people talk about this with parents, where like they had the best hope for me, but that hope overwhelmed me, and I had no choice in my life, and therefore I rejected all of it. So that's tough because I feel like that one is. It's so heavily layered in the idea that like, well, what if nothing was your choice, and you're like, oh. I don't like that, you know. So it's but then there's the idea of like, okay, well, what if you had a brother that seen that you weren't able to get outside your shell, so he ends up introducing you, and he ends up telling you various things to make you have a little more confidence in this moment, and you end up meeting the woman of your dreams. So like that's and again, it comes back to every goddamn thing, Kat. The one thing in my life, the one like thing I would leave behind in the world, is this thing that keeps coming back up, and every time I talk or think about stuff like this, which is the right amount. There is the right amount of almost everything, and there's the right amount of manipulation or persuasion, and there's the wrong amount of manipulation and persuasion. And I always come back to that of like there's this sweet spot, and that sweet spot can be different for everybody. But I feel like if you understand that there's that sweet spot, money. Also, real quick, I know Ray has been waiting for like 20 minutes, probably longer. Ray, I did see
while I say something.
Well, look. Oh no, he sent me a DM about it. So this is the character that Raid. I wish Raid. I'm gonna post this to the art tab just so if Cat wants to see it, he can also see it.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Can I post it on my computer and not my phone? Because that's what I did last time. I can't. Good. All right. So this is the character. That's. Oh my God. That's a fire ass character, dude. Oh shit. He doesn't have eyes. Let's go. That's such a fun build, dude. It's also so much. The coat is what's fucking my life up a little bit. But no, it's also deceptively difficult, right? Because there's no it's basically just like 7 different shades of blue and black, basically. So it would be like, it'd be totally possible and all that stuff, but it wouldn't be it wouldn't be like, hey, can you make me a sexy Chung-Li in a bathing suit? And I'm like, I gotta just paint the skin. I gotta color the bathing suit.
Oh,
easy.
That's sick.
Yeah. I must say that's a really cool character though. I love the vibe too. It's like militarized, but like kind of like a hawk. So cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love the headpiece.
The coat is a lot. What did you say, sorry?
Love the headpiece.
Yeah, the headpiece is really cool too. Yeah.
I wanted to say as a quick follow-up, does the book talk about, like how you said there's a good amount, does the book talk about know your audience? Because I feel like that's got to be a big part of it.
Yes, so that's one of the things it talks about in the, like moving into its second like kind of phase is like the thing that the main the book basically is like a guy who's like a teacher. It's like stuff from his lectures essentially. And one of the things that his students constantly asked, or like people who email him, are like, hey, can you tell me how to do this and how this could apply to like emails and like or sales or like my wife or whatever. And he basically says that like, and this is something that like I've come back to at every single point, and this is like one of the merits of like when you have a good book that about communication. It's basically is like, well, if you understand like, oh, I gotta share one more thing with you, Kat. It's kind of more of a deeper thing.
Oh, sure. Raid says, yeah, it's a mask too. He does have a face underneath. Ah, gotcha.
Ooh, okay. If it's a mask, a helmet. Hey. Raid, a helmet is much more attainable. What if I made you a fucking gigantic helmet? Anyways, I think that actually would be more cool in some capacity to have a cool ass helmet sitting on your desk. Anyways, so this is something I recently learned a little bit about, but it's basically, everyone's heard the idea, especially within like certain religion, which is like, treat others how you like to be treated. And I always think a natural escalation of that is realize that like you are that other person in some capacity, right? Like, when you see a homeless man on the side of the street, realize that like within a few iterations, you could end up in that same way. And I think we've actually talked about this many times in the past too, just pointed. But there was this thing that kind of had like a weird unlock for me recently. And it was one of the weirder books I was reading. And I actually don't want to really mention that one. But it talked about the idea of every single person doesn't just have their like life or the things that happened. Instead, every single so it's like an old thing from like a person who is extremely intelligent. I can't think of his name, but basically he was asking himself the question of like, what is true? Like, what is true? And he kept going through his brain. And he's like, is gravity true? Is math true? Is light true? All that stuff. And he basically came to this one conclusion of like, okay, the only thing that I can guarantee is absolutely true is that my reality is in fact real. I can't promise that your reality is real, but I have to at least, otherwise no question is able to even persist, which is that my view of reality is real. And the book that I was reading before this kind of opened up this idea of, can you even wrap your head around that a little bit? Which is that each one of us are in our own unique reality. Mm-hmm. To me, it's weird because another way you could phrase it is like, yeah, we all have our lived experiences, but it just does not do like enough justice to the sheer fucking volume of complexity behind the idea that no, dude, if I think about you, Kat, I think about, okay, you're not like, you have all of the crazy shit that I have, like the same. You're like, the way you perceive things are different. The way the past influences how you are here. The various tiny moments in the past have influenced you permanently, maybe. Also, like your future and how these variables interact with you. Like it's almost like the idea was, hey, we all have our lived experiences, and that's like a book. And then the idea that, oh wait, we are all in our own specific reality is like the fucking galaxy. It's like an entirely different level of like, holy absolute fuck. And the reason why I brought this up was because it pertains to communication to some extent, which is, okay, and I don't want to go into too much about this, but basically, what if you perceived that, like, okay, I'm not looking at Kat, but I'm looking at Kat as a person who is constructed his own reality. Now, what happens if I take my reality and I inject that into Kat's reality? What is like a biological response often to that? I would assume it's just like DNA or like a virus, where like there's a high chance that if or like we can see this play out in 1,000 different ways, where there's like politics or theory of any kind. But like if you inject your reality against somebody else's, you get like an explosion. Basically, you get like a signal of a virus. So your body just ejects it. It's like, I don't want this. For whatever reason, I don't like you, or I feel frustrated by you, and all of these things. And we have all these ways of justifying that kind of response. But the idea, which to me is really powerful, which is, okay, let's say I look at Kat and I say, okay, Kat has his own reality. He has an endless amount of complexity. He has things he's went through. He has things he's thinking about. He has so many different, possible, I don't even say the insecurities, but maybe things he thinks about more than other people. All these things. What if I shed my reality for a moment and I just tried to exist in Kat's reality for a minute? And I just wanted to understand what his reality is. Like, how do you see the world? How do you feel about this thing? And you're not trying to inject your reality into theirs. It's like, well, this is what I think. But instead, you're just sitting there as an observer, and it's not even an observer is not even the right way to phrase it. It's like almost like you're just existing in somebody else's reality. It's probably the best way to phrase it. And maybe people have heard these things before, but to me, this is just such a weird unlock in my head of it goes beyond just listening to somebody. It goes beyond just trying to understand somebody. It goes into what if you could genuinely just exist in somebody else's world? And yeah, it's hard because I feel like it's so amorphic in a weird way that you sound like a psycho talking about it. Or like an obvious idiot, of course, I know that immediately, but anyways.
No, I get that. It's the classic walk a mile in someone else's shoes, see their reality. And that can help a lot, ironically, with your manipulation. If you know how someone's thinking and you know how someone perceives reality, you can then change either how they perceive it or what they use to perceive reality. And to layer a little bit more, because I got a lot you said to respond to. To layer that onto, humans are the universe's best solution to observe itself, because we are just matter basically put together and given faculties. But at the end of the day, we're all, if you are not a religious man at all, we are all just star stuff basically in a different form. So it's interesting that Yeah, if you really think hard enough, you can't prove anything else exists besides what you can objectively see, touch, and hear. It's hard.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's beautifully said. I love the idea. It's like one of my favorite quotes is like, "We're all just stardust, or we're all just gorillas flying through the air at 1,000 miles per hour, something like that." No, I think that's really well said. You mentioned something. What was it? It was oh shit, what was it? It was something about we each have our own.
Objective
That's what it
reality?
was. You mentioned, you mentioned how uh, basically people could use that idea of reality to shape you in certain ways. What's interesting is kind of something I was curious about, but basically, I don't want to give too much, like talk too much about this certain type of thing, but basically, that's actually I don't think entirely the case a lot of times. So like I don't think you can inject like I can't convince you within like a sitting cat to like murder somebody, right? Like that's just not a thing. You have a natural firewall that tells you no. But what I could probably do is if I knew your reality enough, I could take whatever component parts are in your reality and shape them into something different. And that I think is more correct. So I can't get you to do something. It's almost like you know how people say that like alcohol is like the great, it'll like reveal who you truly are or something like that. I don't know if I agree with all that, but that's just the premise I think people can understand. I think that's a part of it, which is like, okay, I can't convince you to like be merciful necessarily, or like to like not want to eat, let's say, a cow. Maybe you're like just like a staunch carnivore, etc.
Yeah.
I can't convince you to not eat a cow, but I could maybe take your love and it's funny because you think about like this is like literal advertisements, which is like, what do ads do? Well, ads have this conversation. They understand human nature enough to be like, okay, well, what if I can't convince somebody to like not want to eat a cow, but what if I could take something that they already believe? Maybe it's this that a baby or a tiny helpless animal. Maybe I could shine a light on that. I could reveal that. I could show that enough, and I could connect the two, and I could almost like reformat your reality, which is that you have a natural disposition towards not wanting, to see innocent things suffer. You have a natural care towards infants, and all that stuff. And what if I could show you that and weave that into this? What is the probability that you would have much more of a stronger reaction than not doing that at all? And it's funny because you think about this, advertisements do this all the time. So one thing that's also kicking my ass is I'm listening to all this stuff, and I'm just looking on like all the ads, all the fucking people I watch, and I'm like, dude, all the ads are for sure doing this. Also, a lot of the influencer I watch also are like that's the thing that's tough though, man. It's why I like say we're just so fucked is because you can't tell. Even if like the idea that somebody is like maniacally laughing in their head of like I got him, tricked you, is just probably not very fair. Like the reality is probably that they grew up in an environment in which this specific way of communicating gave them a benefit, and they were reinforced on a long time horizon, and now they are that way. That's usually like that. They don't even know they're doing it, which is the craziest thing. So like it's undiscernible, basically. is the thing I keep coming back to. Maybe. Yeah. ramble.
Undiscernible, yeah, that's a good way to put it. And a lot of it is so subtle that your brain will never pick up on it just because it's like, oh, someone talking about something in an advertisement. And you're like, oh, yeah, I know about that.
Yeah.
And then your brain will, on the surface, say, oh, I know it's an advertisement. But you will still encode the item and the jingle into your memory. It's that subtle.
For sure. No, 100%. I was going to say, how do you feel about that? Which is the idea that you basically... Oh, I wish I was smarter, Kat. I wish I could communicate better.
This is going great.
I know. I find like my one issue with my head is that I'll just information will just blip out of there, and I'm like, God fucking damn it. But it was essentially around this idea that you were talking about like information being hard to detect it. Oh, I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. Shit.
Information's just really subtle sometimes, and sometimes your brain will it'll recognize information that it's something it doesn't need to pay attention to, but that recognition, as well as anything else, is still encoding it in long-term, short-term memory.
Yeah. No, I think that's well said. It had something to do with the thing that we were talking about with actually, I think it was a quite a left, like out of left field kind of conversation. You mentioned again, it's funny because when I remember listening to you, my brain is like constantly firing off sparks. So when you say something, I'm like, oh, oh, and of course I want to hear what the rest you have to say. But I put a pin on that, and sometimes that pin just snaps. So, but no, man. I also can't. I just wanted to slow down and say absolutely thank you so much. Like you're one of the like only people in my actual whole life that I actually can like talk about these things with, who don't just deflate as I talk about them, I talk about it with them. So I
Dude, I'm
appreciate you
sorry
letting me
that
vent like this.
I'm sorry that it's something to where you have people deflating in the middle of you trying to do stuff. I've felt that a little bit before. That sucks.
Yeah, well, what do you call it? To me, it's I think yeah, it's tough because it's like we talk about that addiction or like these addictions that people have, and I definitely think that's something that like I think I pretty well, like I know pretty well, which is the idea of like it is really nice when somebody doesn't make you feel like the things you're interested in are like just utterly worthless, you know. And it's funny because like one of the few like the first lesson of like I don't know what you want to call it, charisma or persuasion, ever whatever you ever want to call it, was from my grandma. And my grandma, she had no idea at all, Kat, about video games, about anything, but she would just lie her ass off and say, "Oh, cool, what is that about? Oh my god, it sounds so fun!" And I'm looking back on it, totally lying. But she would just do that, and to me, the thing that it comes back to the thing we talked about at the very beginning. Yeah, she was wonderful. She is wonderful. But at the what do you call? We mentioned this at the beginning, which is how to win friends and influence people. One of the biggest takeaways I have from that book is to become the kind of person that genuinely likes to hear what people have to say. And to me, I just kind of bucketed up from that, and I basically said, what if I genuinely just gave a shit about what people are interested in? It's actually super not hard and so fucking rewarding. Also, it's like you have a lifetime of communication with anybody. You can like talk to anybody about anything because you're interested in what they're talking about. I adore the times when I hear about Warhammer from you because I can tell not only is it interesting, but also I can tell for you it is fun to explore. It's almost like I can by listening to this thing that you deeply care about, I can almost like have you re-experience or like re-feel the same feelings you have when you got to read about it or when you got to experience it. And to me, that's like one of a very beautiful thing. And the fact that like I definitely know you've done that for me in the sense that like I have very few people I can talk to about like these super heady conversations that don't either get overwhelmed or tune out or any of these things. So I appreciate that so much. You give me that addiction. You feed that addiction, Kat. Thank you so much for being my dealer. All right.
Oh yeah. At the same time, with you as well, I rarely have people I talk to that when I talk about Warhammer, I don't see that facial expression of like, here we go. I'm like, oh yeah, I've talked about this a lot before with you. I apologize, that kind of thing.
But it's crazy. Warhammer's awesome. It's super.
That's what I think.
Yeah. Oh, I can understand if someone's like, let me talk about math, and you're like, fuck, here we go again. But math can be interesting too. Anyways, yeah.
But it's really awesome to be able to talk about any of these subjects with somebody who goes back and forth, so I appreciate you as well. We feed each other's addictions in that regard. Sheesh, sorry, I'm yawning.
I'm curious, do you have you, based on your own lived experience, do you know of any addictions that you have where you're like, yeah, I noticed that like when somebody feeds into this, I either I light up or I'm like, oh, like clearly that's something I don't get, access to all the time. Do you
definitely
have any
D&D,
of those?
talking about any kind of video games, for sure Warhammer, just because those outlets I literally call like I have an itch I need to scratch that I need to tell someone about it, and so every time I get to like play D&D with some people or I sit down and I can tell that they like are receptive to it just because I've talked to so many people about so many topics that I can almost at this point gauge right when I sit down the kind of topics that they do want to listen to or don't. And so I can like magnetically feel myself ramping up and being like, okay, we can't just dump my last 3 weeks of content onto this person all at once. I gotta be slow.
Why not?
Just because I was like, that's too much for them. But it's awesome that at the same time, if you know what these itches are, then you can catch yourself being like, oh, I can tell this person is just, entertaining me for something. Like if
this is sorry, I don't want to interrupt. This is I think what I was going to bring up, which is this is the question I was going to ask. I found it. One of the things the book talks about, which I also thought was interesting, which is basically, what if, people always say these things about like, tell to me straight, dude. I want the real, that kind of stuff. But I think, and this is what the book argues, which is I think we actually want people to kind of lie to us. Like I don't think people
Sometimes.
want what they say they want. Like the idea I think is largely that you're like, actually, man, because if you think about it, like what if you genuinely like disliked a person's behavior, like super dislike this person's behavior. That maybe makes sense on like a one-to-one scale. Like if you were just, data points on a spreadsheet and you say like this person said something bad, I should mention that, done. It's funny because I feel like it's very much the like an autistic way of looking at things, very like linear kind of spreadsheet thing. But the reality is what if like time moves on? What if that person makes you feel good in some ways and bad in some other ways? So aren't you happy that you didn't just write them off for the one time that they were maybe even really mean to you? So
Oh yeah.
but I come back to this idea of like, and I'm curious what you feel, because like I lean myself, and it maybe feels a little cowardice, but like I think of like, yeah, largely, man, I'm not sure if I believe that. I don't know if I am the kind of person that wants. It's almost weird, but it's like yeah, tell me sweet little lies, but don't put me in a bad position. I guess is it like. Yeah, it's funny because I also mentioned that a long time ago. But yeah, well, curious what you think about that. Are you more online with like, tell me the facts, or are you like, dude, if I'm honest with myself, I kind of want someone to kind of tell me the best version of the truth and not the most grounded, hurtful, painful truth.
It all really depends kind of how I'm feeling in the discussion I'm talking about. Like
Yeah,
if
that's
I'm
fair.
debating like politics with somebody, or like a charged topic, climate change, like the classic big buzzwords, I would much rather have someone's true, I don't know, true feelings counts, but I guess true opinions, rather than I say something they disagree with and they go, oh yeah, I agree with you, and then I don't get any good pushback, and neither of us get anything beneficial from the discussion.
Well, I don't think it's to be like, I don't think it's
That was
meant to
one
be
example.
as agreeable. Yeah. Sorry, I mean to interrupt you, bro.
Oh, you're fine. Another example would be like if I was talking to someone and I say, look at my new shirt, and they look at me and they're like, that shirt's not the best color on you. I would probably go, you know what? Thank you. And like, that hurts, but thank you.
But so this is where I go back and forth. Would you? So like you people would say that. I'm not calling into question what you believe, but like to me, I wonder if like if let me phrase it a different way. What if we had two versions of cat and we ran a simulation within like kind of a game? And one simulation was like, and this is something like the easy way to understand this maybe is with a more of like an intensity spin. Maybe we shouldn't do that yet. That's probably it's too much.
Okay.
But, yeah. Let's say you have one person who basically compliments your hairstyle, and then we have another instance where somebody tells you that your hairstyle is terrible. And then we have a third instance where maybe somebody tells you, and this is what I think is probably the best version of it, which is the best version of the truth. So they're going to communicate that your hairstyle is not to their liking, but that but this one maybe would, anything like that. But anyways, it's kind of good communication, bad communication. But what about that?
No, I prefer that. I've always... Huh?
Oh, sorry. I kind of also I didn't tell the question right. Basically, I'm having a hard time describing this, but I wonder if we were to really like at the end of each simulation, you were to ask each person and say, what is the happiness and whatever happiness outcome, whatever that is the best for you. I feel like the person who just got was sold something nice might actually be the most happy, most content. The question is
sure.
like when you're compromised,
For sure, you'd be the most happy, especially if someone lied to you and was like, "Oh, that's amazing! What you just did was amazing."
Yeah, we don't want to be lied to. Yeah,
that'll make you happy for sure. But I mean, we had talked about this a little bit earlier. If I found out later that was a lie, I'd be like, "Oh man, I don't know how I'd feel if that was real." Kind of like the wife thing you had suggested to talk about. Like, oh, is that something you still say, well, thanks, even though it's not like
it's tough
it was
because
just them making you happy?
Yeah, it's really tough. I see what you're saying. You're right. A part of me is wondering like what's the weird like razor in that? Like for me, a part of me thinks that okay, well basically if somebody like if I heard that, if I basically heard like, oh yeah, dude, I mean I wanted to make you happy, basically. I don't want to call into question like your confidence in yourself or anything like that, so I wanted to tell you that your hair was nice. It's not for me. Would I be upset when I heard someone say that? I'd be like, not really. But what would make me upset is if I'm going on a date and I'm like, how do you think about my hair? And then you're like, it's great. And then you knew it was shitty. Then I ended up basically eating shit because of you. So like that's different. It's weird, but like it's almost
Interesting.
like there's the right amount of truth, basically. And this was the thing I didn't want to like infect my premise with. But I'm curious what you think about it. It's something that I think I maybe even brought up to you like really quickly in passing, but it's one of those questions I still don't know the answer to. Basically, I still don't know what the right answer is. But a long time ago, like a little while ago, I was watching this podcast and it was about relationships because I kind of like podcasts like that. And this person brought up a premise which I didn't really love, or at least it made me feel like, what the fuck do I do with this? And normally I don't feel that way. I have like a really strong initial thought usually on how I feel about something. But the premise was this. Let's say we run the simulation, and it's cat in both simulations. Actually, let's not say it's cat. Let's say it's a really good friend of yours. Let's say it's your brother, whatever you want. So you take this person and you put them in a little simulation. You have two simulations going. The first simulation is one where basically the girlfriend. I'm sorry, I keep bringing this up. By the way, it's just what like is easiest for people to understand. But let's say one simulation is where somebody, the girlfriend in this instance, cheats on this person. And in fact, both situations happen. So both simulations, guy gets cheated on, and this is how it plays out. In simulation one, the person basically tells the boyfriend that they in fact cheated. They separate. Pause. We're going to monitor the outcome of that. And then the other version is just where the girlfriend basically just breaks up with the boyfriend and moves on with her life. And what's the outcome of that? So the outcome of both, just to kind of finish it off, the outcome of the first one is basically because the girlfriend communicated to the boyfriend that she in fact cheated on him. Now the boyfriend has to go forward in life knowing that he got cheated on, all the trust issues that encompass that. And in the other version, he doesn't. So this begs the question of what is morally right? Is it morally right to tell the person that this happened and theoretically ruin them? But if both options end in you breaking up, then why not try to save the person that pain and just break up with them and not tell them? It's kind of like, what do you value more, the truth or the outcome of what will actually be the results of your actions?
Yeah, that's hard.
What do you think?
It's like it's similar to the question of what do you value? Do you value the intentions or the outcome? I think that's a lot similar to what you're asking. And
that's
have you
100% right?
Have you heard of utilitarianism? Have you heard of utilitarianism?
I've heard about it. I've struggled to like know exactly what the word is defined as.
It's an interesting concept. It just means the only action that is correct is the one that will bring about the most happiness, as in quantitatively. So it's like, kill a million people if you can save a billion people. But some people try to stress it to go all the ways like, if I kill 45 people to save 46 people, is that the same thing? Because there's now more happiness quantitatively. So it doesn't hold up very well, but it's a similar thinking of like, if I tell one white lie that your hair looks good, and you went out more confident, and you got happy because you got a girlfriend and your girlfriend's happy, my one white lie has now increased the happiness more. So that, in utilitarian eyes, is a good thing. But
can I pick up on this just a little bit?
Sure. I just want to say I don't believe that.
Yeah. I was gonna say another, like, to add to your point, another version of it could be like, a cheating husband validating the fact that like, I'm not gonna tell her because that would make her sad. So like she's so happy walking around right now without knowing that. Therefore, I should not tell her because theoretically she's in the most amount of happy. So like, to your point, that's a fucking psychotic way of thinking.
That's funny what I think.
Sorry, we're gonna say any more of that?
No, basically just sorry, I'm also concentrating on combat now. I got a bunch of robots fighting me. But it's one of those things where it's hard. It's really hard for me, especially. I don't really know what to think. I probably would rather, kind of like what you said, I'd like the nuance of if I have something that I plan to do and I need someone's opinion because that opinion will change what I do based on the results, I want honesty. But if it's something simple, just, tell me a sweet little lie every once in a while.
Well, it's that's the part. So that's the maybe it's just like I don't like the sound of it, but like it's weird because like it's similar to the addiction thing. Like I feel like that's kind of how I'm like perceiving it, which is like I don't necessarily want people to lie to me, but I do think it's like what if you like we just described, like that's probably the best way I'm thinking about it. And you know how I told you how like I actually really appreciate you, Kat, when you humor me and let me talk about these like crazy psychological books I'm reading, or like the business stuff I'm doing, etc. And you enjoy when I hopefully let you talk to you about cool things like Warhammer and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So like to me, that's kind of what I mean, which is like but let's say like we agree with the premise of that we're all kind of addicts and we're all deeply wanting something, but sometimes we don't know what that is. And maybe we're wise enough right now to be able to discover two of those, which maybe it's a desire to want to be understood and to be perceived as interesting. So to me, like, is it wrong that I want somebody to satisfy that hidden addiction with me? Not necessarily wanting someone to lie to me, because lies inject something else, but it's almost like I want you I want you to satisfy this part of me that needs to be satisfied, because it is a drug. It's like something that will come up again. Like we don't wake up one day and say, you know what, I just never want to be right ever again. It's like, no, you want to be right. You want to feel important. You want to feel needed. So that's kind of where I say, but I'm not sure how you feel about that, because like when you say don't tell me the truth or trust, that's tough. I guess I brought the question there because I talked about like, should you tell the person that unfortunately you cheated on with about the fact that you cheated if you're going to plan on breaking up anyway, and if that will destroy them, and why not try to like save their future relationship or whatever from them? Because this is the thing that the podcast mentioned, which I thought was really interesting about relationships, which is the person who is communicating the fact that they cheated to their partner is a release for them. So it's a mercy for what they did, because otherwise they have to carry that and they have to like basically sit in that. And when they tell you, it's usually get that off their chest. It's usually like this idea of like, oh, thank God I could finally tell you and I didn't have to carry that for so long. So because this is presuming that you are going to break up anyway. There's the other version, which is like, I'm just not going to tell you and just continue to lead you on, which is monstrous. This version is like, no, you're going to break up. It's the whole point. But yeah.
Yeesh. Yeah, you've talked a little bit that you've had relationships in the past. Were those good breakups? Bad? I don't want to dig too much if you don't want to talk about them.
No, I don't have many. I don't have many of those, to tell you the truth. I had this one that was not the best, and it was just because I've talked to you about this beforehand. But like to me, I've always like looked at relationships very different. Like it's again one of those weird outlier moments where I don't have a very similar outlook on a lot of that stuff. Like when all my friends were getting girlfriends and like getting super into it, for me I'm like, how can I like love somebody else if I don't even know who I really am and like how I should go about these certain things. So I've always had like a weirder relationship with that, where like I almost want myself to be fully complete and like okay to be in order for myself to be there for another person, which I think a lot of people just perceive it as like, I just want someone to love me and I have fun with somebody, and my brain's always taken it way too seriously, I think. But one of the first relationships I had was not very good, in the sense that basically person I was both basically in a position where like I don't want to basically make anyone uncomfortable or do anything too soon, and I think the other person really wanted a lot of that, and I was trying to be respectful, and I have like a couple memories where a person was like, I was really quiet in my school, and basically people ended up like I for whatever reason I've always had like a fuck ton of female friends, like just a ton of people who just women, and basically they'd always come up beside me, and when I had a girlfriend in this context, I basically would get them to stop like touching me, because a lot of them did that. They'd wrap their arms around my neck and stuff like that, hang off me, whatever. And for me, I was, as soon as I had a relationship, I basically decided like, no, you just don't do that anymore. I don't want that to happen, whatever. And I think, basically the other person, the person I was in a relationship with at this point, ended up not letting people hang off of them, flirt with them in some capacity. And I sat there and had to watch that basically, and then eventually was like, you know what, I'm fucking good. I'm okay. And it fizzled out and all that stuff, but it definitely didn't leave me with a feeling of feeling great. But I also think that like I think it's weird, but like for me and myself, Kat, I'm at the place where like, and I don't know if many people are like this, but I kind of just would like to make myself more likable, desirable, interesting as a person, you know? I don't, maybe people don't feel that as way as much. Maybe people feel like I just want to get mine, but I'm like, how can I make myself better so that people want you more? I guess that's kind of where I'm at in my life. Of like, can I get these other things in order so that I can then feel like I can truly offer someone something? But again, it's fucked up because like by me thinking in that way, I am basically like wanting a gold digger or like some person that like only would want me at my absolute fucking best or like the most valuable. And that's probably not what you fucking want. You know, you probably want someone who accepts you as you're like kind of okay. So I don't know what the right answer is, but yeah, as far as me, yeah, yeah, it's funny because you mentioned that, and I never really deconstructed that, but maybe that's why I have such like an aversion to those things, is because that girlfriend was basically not unfaithful, but demonstrated a lack of respect, possibly, towards loyalty, I suppose. But alas.
Yeah, it's hard to think about.
Yeah.
Without, like I said, without digging too much into it, I haven't had bad breakups in the past. But I have had someone who has told me that we were barely together, quote unquote. It was 3 months. They're like, yeah, just these last 3 months, I haven't really felt like we were really a couple. And so when you had asked that question earlier, like, what would you do if someone loved you and then said they didn't really love you? That's not nearly the same tier, but it's a similar vein of like, yeah, all this time we spent together, I was basically flip-flopping back and forth on how I felt. It's interesting, because when I felt that, and my response was like, yeah, well, thanks for the time, I guess. Good luck figuring it out.
I was about to say, it's the same feeling I had when you just told me. My thought was like, why are you wasting my time then? Like all the time that you were pretending to like think about this, I could have found someone else who was better or nicer, worked on myself to become better or whatever. So that to me is my number one thought. The only reason why I like the one example is because, like, let's say that girlfriend in this instance was like the best girlfriend ever. It was like super nice to you, always caring, always accommodating. And then at the end of that relationship said like, yeah, I wasn't really sure about it. That to me would be hard because it's not like, I mean, maybe, I'm not sure, would it be better or worse if it was longer? So like if she showed that level of care, kindness on a longer duration, so let's say she did that for like 2 years, 3 years, opposed to like say a month, I don't know if it would be easier or better. I think it'd be worse. I think the reason why that one question is so, the deathbed question, is because theoretically it's someone who's sacrificed all of their lifespan as well for you, versus someone who's just kind of like not, like basically lying to you, like saying, hey, I'm here for you, I'm committing, like it's basically someone being like, I'm going to condition you to love the love I'm giving to you, only to rip it away. And you're like, well, that's ass.
Damn.
That's such ass. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a psychopath.
God damn, Grid. Make me cry like that.
That's, yeah. Hopefully, man. Let's hope a love like that never finds us, or doesn't find you again, Kat.
God, never again. We have about 5 minutes till 2 hours, and I don't want to take any more of your time than you're able to give. I was curious if you wanted to say anything else before we wrapped up.
Let's see. As far as my stream stuff, Thursday we're doing power stuff. I just made my breeding base. Hell yeah! I built a fuck house. Fuck farm, probably more accurate. What do you call it? I built it right beside a boss because it looked pretty. The environment of the boss fight, and now I'm paying for it a little bit. So hopefully they don't all die. Anyways, as far as that, there might be a video. No, probably won't. I will see. There might be a video this week. I'm not sure. I gotta edit the damn masks. But oh, and yeah, and the one thing, yeah, just to end on this as far as like my thought process, because I talked a lot about. I think it's funny because Kat kind of mentioned it beautifully as well, which I talk about stuff like persuasion and communication and manipulation, all these things. It's tough because like this is something that the book also talks about a little bit, and also it's just stuff that everything talks about, which is it's hard because sometimes I like to explore an idea, and sometimes by exploring that idea, people reflect that idea as me. Like I love playing devil's advocate because I feel like I love getting into other people's perspectives and kind of seeing how their brain would work and how they would justify things. I think it helps you understand how you feel about certain things as well. But For me, I sometimes get worried by that, or like the idea that I talk about like these things that are really interesting to me, and mostly as a deterrent. Like I think it's sometimes scary that like again someone could like say the right thing to you, and you like you just get completely taken by those things. So to understand when like it gets to a point in which it's against your best interest is really interesting to me. But I wanted to say that I hope sometimes when I explore these things, people don't all automatically assume that like I am going to deploy all this stuff and I have no feelings about any of those things. To me, if anything, I find I
Thank you,
have the
Raid.
most feelings about all these things. What we're saying?
Just I was thanking Raid real quick. He said great stream, Cat
Oh,
and
Raid.
Grin.
Oh, let's go. Thank you for being here, Raid. You're always so sweet, buddy. Raid is one of the few people who are like absolute ride or die. Fluff is always up in here all the time. Very much appreciate you, Raid. I hope your sleep
Yeah.
gets better, buddy. Take care.
Oh gosh. Yeah, thank you so much, Grin, for all this talk. This has been awesome in terms of it's so much nicer, at least for me personally, to be able to go back and forth without using TTS.
Oh, I entirely agree.
Just
Yeah,
because
I entirely agree.
the way both your and my minds work is that we like run away with our thoughts and we'll keep going and keep going, and then I'm like, oh no, but I have my response to what you said 5 minutes ago.
I know. Yeah, I know. That's why, like, for me, I would love if you paused me in moments, because I feel like, so like how my, and this is probably like a defense mechanism really quickly. So like my brain, like, because I feel like a lot of times if there's any kind of like traumatic loop I have in my brain is people basically like getting disinterested and me having to quickly scramble to wrap up my point just so I can finish it. So oftentimes what I'll do is I'll basically describe something, and as I'm describing it, I want to like kind of, because everyone has like 1,000 questions usually when I bring up like any of the variables of persuasion I mentioned. I think like people could talk about like 4 different variables of those, and like 6 questions could come out of that. So for me, I like to quickly like jump over here, like plug that hole so that people know like I'm gonna cover that. Jump over here, cover this real quick. Jump back here, cover this real quick. All right, now you know what I covered. Now ask a question basically. So that's how my brain works. But sometimes I don't want to cannibalize like the fact that you have something to say or a question about it. So whenever that happens, just be like, oh, I want to reply to that. I want to reply to that. If you say that, I'll immediately shut up because I want to hear your reply.
Oh god, yeah, hell yeah. It's so hard, but I do appreciate your patience and everything. Raid says, well, I don't have any friends online right now, so it's nice to be here. Well, I'm happy that we are your friends in that regard. We're all chilling.
Hell yeah, man. It's always nice hearing people who can communicate things like that, and always like, again, listen to what you got going on and things like that. It's always a beautiful gift.
God, yeah, this stream community is awesome. All right, on that note, before I start crying, because you guys are too nice, we'll end it there. I appreciate you for stopping by, Raid and Grin. Thank you guys. And thank you, Fluff, if you're still here and have me in one ear.
Yeah.